Hello guys and gals, it's your boy Jeffrey Zamberski again. Welcome to another episode of Creepypasta Reading, and today we're going to read a Thomas the Tank Engine creepypasta called Edgar's Revenge. I'm going to read this word for word. It's pretty good, I think. I never read it, so this is the first time reading Edgar's Revenge, so let's get reading to it. When I was little, my favorite show was Thomas the Tank Engine. I made sure to watch every episode of it. Even when I got older, the show has a special place in my heart, for always. When my nephew Spencer was born, I shared my love for Thomas with him. I gave him a Thomas the Tank Engine-based presents every birthday and Christmas. I now understand how weird I was acting back then, but then I kept this obsession even up for one disturbing incident. Or not for one disturbing incident. It all started 3 years ago. Spencer's 6th birthday was approaching, and I was looking for a good gift for him. I should have mentioned that I have a habit of buying gifts a month in advance. So when it was time to buy his present, I had a great idea. He hadn't watched a single episode of Thomas and Friends. Not the original version anyway, so I figured a DVD of it would be the best option. I went online and looked for it, and found one on Craigslist that was being given away for free. All I had to do was send the guy my home address and he'd send it to me. I would never do this under normal circumstances. The last time I bought a DVD from Craigslist, it was a bootleg version of Aliens instead of the real thing. However, the money was tight back then, and I really needed a DVD for Spencer. So, against my better judgment, I got it. When it arrived on my doorstep, I was surprised by the poor packaging. It was wrapped in brown paper and tape. I guessed that the DVD was hand-delivered. I unwrapped the package and inspected it. The box and cover was legit looking. The disc also had a real-looking cover, instead of just the title written in Sharpie. All that was left to do was just play it. I turned on my desktop and popped the DVD into the disc player. Everything looked good, but then I checked the episode list. The DVD contained 6 episodes. The first 5 were from the first in the series. The last episode, the 6th, however, was unfamiliar. It was titled Edgar's Revenge. I've seen every episode of Thomas's, adventures, and I've never seen Edgar's Revenge before. Although, who is Edgar? I thought I was scammed again. To be sure, I decided to watch this episode. I've heard TV shows having lost episodes since SpongeBob SquarePants was really good. I figured why not? I will regret that decision for as long as I live. The episode began with Thomas chatting with Percy. Thomas was telling Percy about the coal he was going to deliver to a factory south of Sodor. When Percy heard this, he looked worried. He asked how Sir Tom Hatt could send another engine down that route. There was a railroad on the southern side of Sodor that was believed to be haunted. Every time an engine went down those tracks, they'd be pushed off of them by an unknown force. Unfortunately for Thomas, he had to go down those tracks. Apparently, Sir Tom Hatt wasn't superstitious. Every time an engine is found on its side next to the tracks, he'd say there was something wrong with the tracks. But every engine knew the truth. The episode then showed a flashback with the narrator telling the story. Years ago, there was an engine named Edgar. One day he was assigned to bring logs to a shipping port south of Sodor. However, a storm was going to hit that area. Despite his concerns, Sir Topham Hatt made him go anyway. Edgar was going through a clearing when the storm hit. A bolt of lightning then hit him, electrocuting the engine. He screamed in agony as his face began to melt. He then came to a stop and died on the tracks, dead on the spot. It took several days for Edgar's remains to be recovered. It's believed that Edgar's ghost was responsible for those accidents. Percy begged Thomas to not go down the tracks, but Thomas, being the diligent engine he was, went anyway. The next scene showed Thomas driving through a clearing. The sun was setting and the engine looked nervous. He was frantically looking around for Edgar's ghost. After a while, Thomas began to calm down. He was starting to think that the hauntings were just accidents when he saw something. A smoky mass was forming beside him, I meant. The smoke then materialized into a train. Thomas looked at the engine in horror as he realized it was Edgar's ghost. His face was hideously deformed, and his eyes were completely white. Patches of paint were missing, and he was wailing in agony. Edgar began ramming against Thomas, his screams of pain switching to anger. Edgar then started to yell at how Sultan had killed him, and that he must pay for what he did. With one final blow, Thomas was knocked right off the tracks. Edgar sped off, laughing maniacally before disappearing. A few days later, a group of people retrieved Thomas and Nicole. He was mumbling under his breath with pure terror on his face. I sat there in shock as the credits rolled. What bothered me the most was that it didn't look like a fake episode. I kid you not, Edgar's Revenge looked as if it was made by the same people that created the series. I looked up the episode's title on the internet, and unfortunately I could not find any info about it. However, I did find something else. There's a news article dating back to the 1930s about a tragedy in the United Kingdom. A freight train was found in the clearing with its entire crew murdered. One of the crew members killed everyone before disappearing somewhere. The killer's name was Edgar. I'm still not convinced that the episode was fake. Whoever the creator was, at least I now know what inspired this nightmare. I destroyed the wretched DVD and threw the remains in the trash. After that, I went to buy a DVD from an actual store and never told anyone about Edgar's Revenge. I'm not sure if there's any more copies, but if so, I hope they never see the light of day. Have you ever heard of Thomas the Tank Engine? I'm sure you have. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Edgar's Revenge, a Thomas the Tank Engine creepypasta. Now, cliches aside, I did not see any blood cliche. That is actually good that they did not use the blood cliche, let alone at all, in this one. That is absolutely stupid if they overused the blood cliche. The only cliche I could think of is, who is Edgar? I mean, they don't really give a full description of this engine, especially for Edgar's sake. All I just know is he was an engine that crashed and then was scrapped, and basically his ghost haunts that specific area. If anyone wants to make a design of what Edgar could possibly look like, both regular and in ghost form, feel free to do that. And tell me, what would you do to make this creepypasta better? This is Jeffrey Sembersky signing out.